The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 8 News Now or Nexstar Media Group.
Okay, so we are hearing again the planned teacher strike is coming up. The union, the CCEA and CCSD need to come to an agreement. So far, neither one seems to be budging. How is this going to play out come September 10th? Are the teachers going to be striking?
Well, they can strike, but the problem is there's absolutely no protections for teachers if they do strike. The problem is CCEA has not done the groundwork necessary for a strike. And what you've seen around the country when these strikes have happened is that the unions go in and negotiate with the district. Usually the district and the union are on the same side, and if they strike, then there are protections in place because they're going out and they're fighting for, respect and pay and all of the things they should be fighting for. And look, under normal circumstances, I would agree with the strike. I think that these teachers deserve more in pay. I believe that these teachers deserve respect. And I know they have the hardest job in the entire community, but at the same time, I think they need to do this the right way. And I think CCEA is getting way out over their skis on this thing and potentially putting teachers at risk, and that's unacceptable. And so for me, I'm very concerned about how this is all playing out. I think this is a negotiating tactic on their part, but I think it's a losing strategy. And I think the people who are really going to get hurt here are the kids. Because at the end of the day, if we lose teachers, if teachers are dismissed, if teachers are fired, that hurts our children ultimately, and I'm very concerned about it.
The union, the CCA, would stand to face $50,000 a day fines. The teachers would all subject to being dismissed. The school district says, hey, we're still going to keep the schools open in the middle of a strike. How do you see it playing out?
First of all, I don't think they're going to be firing the teachers. I don't think that's going to happen. They're not going to be, or fining them for that matter. But the unions could find themselves, especially the main union, finding itself definitely fined for every day that they go out on strike. It's illegal to do it here in the state of Nevada, and this is a problem. You and I agree on some of this. And the part of the problem is that the legislature did not, I think, properly deal with the CCSD like they should have. It's kind of funny also. I mean, it's funny. It's strange. In the midst of all this thing, you have this thing about Jesus Jara going out and buying an exercise bike at $2,400.
Sure
now,
did.
again, it's not that it's that much money. The guy makes $320,000 a year plus perks and everything like that, and then he buys this exercise bike and he puts it to the school district to pay for it. And the optics of something like that is just incredible that's being done. I'll tell you, I don't know where this guy's coming from. And he may be a nice guy and have nice words to say, but I just think that he's done some weird things. The head of the board was saying that she did not sign off on it, first of all, and then she said, oh, wait a minute, I think I did sign off, but I think I forgot that I did sign off, but I'm not sure. The whole thing is such a jumble that's going on. They should not go ahead and strike. The unions do not have the money, according to everything I've seen, to be able to support the teachers during a strike. And so people are going to have to reach into their own pockets. Again, they won't get fired and they won't get fined, the individuals, but they're going to have to pay out of their own pockets.
The thing is if you know anything about union organizing, I mean, just the bare minimum about union organizing, this is not the way you do it. Yeah. And there's a lot of organization and planning and prep that goes into a solid strike. And this is not what is happening with CCEA. And keep in mind, this is a CCEA thing. None of the other unions are involved in this. This is one union that has split off from NSEA. And so at the end of the day, this is going to fall back on, CCEA and their poor planning and all of the things that have gone along with it. And like I said, normally I would support a strike. I come from a union family. My mom is a proud union member, but at the same time, this is not the way you go about doing that, and you're putting people at risk by doing it.
Wow.
Well,
agree to it.
Well, and as you and I, we were up at the legislature the last few. You were up there more than I was, but the last few days to see a lot of extra money beyond the big increase the legislature gave the state. Most agree held up its end of the bargain, but the school district still fell short. Thus, we're still in this position. So, I mean, you're looking at the union. Does the school district have any culpability?
after they gave them most of the money they wanted, they turned around and said, well, hold on a second now, we're 17 million short this year. And by the way, we're going to be 17 million short next year, like $35 million. I mean, a few dollars here and a few million there, eventually it's a few bucks. This goes back to one important thing, and I've got to stress this more than anything at all. There should be an audit, and there has not been. This is a shameful thing, and it doesn't matter who's running the state, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat governor. They should be running an audit, and an ongoing audit, and overseeing the expenditures by the CCSD on a regular basis. They've got to do that. Otherwise, they're going to fall further and further into the hole. I just think that the CCSD has made a huge, huge mistake, and people are going to get turned off to it.
And this notion of somehow this is the legislator's fault or this is the governor's fault, they put more money into education than ever before. I know what those negotiations were like. I've heard what they were negotiating, and CCSD and JARA kept moving the goalpost time and time and time again with our leaders. And they did what was asked of them. They gave them extra money. Now we're talking about the Clark County Commission also giving them extra money. Again, I've said this before, this is a manufactured crisis by the Clark County School District and by the teachers union. They got the money, they need to put the money into teachers' raises and be done with this. This is insane.
Let's talk about national issue. So I think let's just keep the question simple. Is there an anti-Semitism problem floating around in our federal government, whether it's Congress, the president, the different branches of government where we hear about this?
Yeah, and I think it's a one-sided issue. I think it's coming directly from the President of the United States. I think he is trying to divide people based on race and religion. I think you see him having more and more hate speech directed at violence towards Jewish people, towards Muslim people, towards people of color. And now you're seeing people come out and, do mass shootings and all of these other things that come along with it. It's inciting violence. He sides with the KKK. He sides with Nazis. And at the end of the day, I have no tolerance for it. And I think he hides behind this, we got to rally around our flag. He literally had another country come out against two congresswomen and tell them that they couldn't come to Israel. That is insane to me, and that is what dictators do. And we should have no tolerance for that kind of behavior. Those two women should be able to go there, should be able to see their families or whatever it is that they need to do there as congressional members. And his behavior is totally unacceptable, and we should not be tolerating it.
I think you'll concede that you agree there is a problem in the federal government, but that's as far as it'll go. I think you're going to point the other way.
Well, first of all, I'll get to the Trump aspect in a second. Israel passed a law a long time ago to say that people could not be admitted who would be admitted to Israel with the specific purpose of trying to harm Israel in any way. And two members of the squad have definitely gone ahead and made a point of saying that they were going to work for BDS. They were going to work against Israel and do everything they could to harm it. These people are evil socialists, these two women. And when Rashida Tlaib was going to go ahead and ask for admission for a humanitarian basis to see her grandmother, who might be for the last time just to see her, and they agreed. And then she turned around and said, no, I'm going to pull out on that because other Palestinians were saying, you shouldn't have agreed to it. Don't agree to anything that Israel says. We hate it. So these women are evil, evil, evil. Let me say this, two things in all candor. One, the president shouldn't have been involved in that process. He should not have encouraged Netanyahu or the Israeli government to not allow them to come in. The president made a huge mistake. The president made another huge mistake. I mean, I'm just going to be very, very clear about it. One is that he took a tweet that was put out by Wayne Allen Root, and he retweeted it. And what he was saying basically in that tweet was that that he is that first of all he's been the greatest president ever for Jews and for Israel, and that's all fine. It was great that he said that, but then it all stopped, and he started saying things like he's like the next, he's the coming savior, he's a second God. I think that was almost the literal comment that he made. And he retweeted this kind of thing. This stuff, that is bizarre. If you know anything about Judaism, you know, we don't have second comings. We don't have anything like the Son of God or anything like that at all. But Wayne Allyn Root put this out, and it was tweeted in some way by the president. A huge, huge, huge mistake by the president. Later on, the president said, you know, I mean, look at me. I forget. He looked up at one point and said he was special or something to the effect.
You special, all right.
It was a wrong thing for him to do. You know, again, I defend him in a lot of ways, but when it comes to certain things, and you look at what he has done, retweeting this and putting himself as some kind of a god to Jews and to Israel. And the last thing is that when he said that there was a lack of loyalty by Jews who didn't vote for him.
Yeah,
listen,
that's insane.
No, you're absolutely right. In 2016, Obama did the same thing on behalf of Hillary Clinton, saying that to blacks, if you don't vote for her, you're disloyal to me. And we said at the time, it was terrible. You shouldn't say that. Well, you know what? We've got to say the same thing about Donald Trump, saying that if Jews don't vote for him, then that they're showing disloyalty. Wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter whether it's Democrat, Republican, Obama, or Trump. I mean, I'm just being honest with the whole thing.
What do you think of Allen's take on the issue?
Well, look, I agree with him that I think that tweet is wrong. I don't think that Donald Trump is a god or anything close to it. And I do think that we need to call out hypocrisy in our government, like when Donald Trump sides with the KKK and Nazis and various other things. You know, he has a long history of doing these types of things. When after Charlottesville, you know, he said, oh, well, this is both sides. No, it's not both sides. White supremacy is alive and well in this country, and he is stoking the fire of white supremacy against people of color, Jewish people. I was at a synagogue this past weekend. Why is it that we had to have full security plus 2 police officers in front of a synagogue? That's unacceptable, and you're Jewish, I know you are. We should not have to have that in places of faith. They should be able to practice their faith without fear of retaliation or hatred. And it shouldn't matter whether you're Jewish or you're Muslim or you're Catholic or you're non-denominational. You should be able to practice your faith without any fear in this country. And I'm sorry, but Donald Trump is stoking those flames.
I mean, I have to correct one whole thing, though. This is because you're throwing a lot of things in purposely, and some to detract from the topic that we're talking about. But I do want to say this, that the issue of gun-free zones, whether they're theaters in Aurora, Colorado, or whether they're synagogues or churches in Texas or schools, gun-free zones invite violence. And unfortunately, there have been at least a couple of synagogues that have been directly attacked, one back in the Midwest and one here in San Diego, where people were shot and killed. I sincerely do believe that churches and synagogues and mosques and other places that need protection should have them. We have armed guard in front of our synagogue. Other synagogues here in Las Vegas have other police that they hire from off-duty police.
And that's sad to me that has to be there.
Well, the deal is that what is smart is having these guards.
Sure, that's smart, but it's unacceptable that they even have to be there.
You know what? Welcome to 2019.
Yeah, and welcome to your president stoking hatred.
Welcome to 2019. Shootings at churches, at Christian churches, happened during the Obama administration. Plenty of them it happened with. And I'm just saying that there have been other churches that since then decided to go ahead and hire armed people to defend themselves. A lot of Jewish synagogues did not do that until the attack came, I think it was in Pittsburgh, where people died. And we have got to make sure that people are safe. This is not Obama, and this is not Trump. These are people who are out to get their churches that they don't like the people, whatever issue. They're anti-Semitic, maybe black churches, they're against blacks. But the bottom line is you wind up with people who are bigots, and they want to do harm to people who are in gun-free zones, you've got to turn around and hire people who are going to be guards there to make sure that we are safe when we go in. And I'm thankful for the people who are there every Saturday when I go to pray.
I'm sure you are. It's unacceptable that they even need to be there.
And that's fantasy land, and I'm happy that people who have CCW.
Why is that fantasy land?
I'm happy people with CCWs.
Hang on. I'm not criticizing the people who are standing there having guns. Let's not get this twisted. I'm criticizing the fact that they need to be there in the first place for people to be able to practice their religion safely and freely in this country. Don't get this twisted. I'm not criticizing the fact that the police were there. I'm not criticizing the fact that security was there. I'm saying it is sad that that even needs to happen in 2019.
That's fine. And I'm saying to you, and I'm saying to you, you're right. It's sad, okay? It's sad.
And it's unacceptable, Alan.
It's sad, unacceptable. But here's the bottom line. You want to protect yourself, you damn well better have something to protect yourself.
Or you should have a president that doesn't side with the KKK.
I'm sorry.
How about that?
I'm sorry. The shootings that occurred in churches, black churches at that, during Obama, you tell me about what that had to do with Trump. But Trump had it announced as a candidacy, and it was during Obama's presidency that black churches were shot up and murdered and killed.
And they're still being shot up.
And it's got nothing to do with Trump.
Okay.
This has to do with people who are crazy and they're bigots. And we should defend ourselves, churches, mosques, synagogues, and other places that are quote-unquote gun-free zones. Invitations to murder.
Let's move on to talking about prescription drug costs. Completely different topic here, but
not that different, actually.
What should the country be doing to try to minimize the cost of prescription drugs? I think there is no argument. I don't think you would disagree that many prescription drugs are just sky high. There are other options, but maybe bringing them in from Canada now, that gets tough as a part of a trade deal. How does the country tackle that problem?
Sure. So as it stands right now, you see many senior citizens having to ration their prescription drugs. And it's not just senior citizens. We had a young man at our office earlier this week who is asthmatic, and his mom is having to take days off of work to deal with his asthma. And it's so sad because his asthma costs, until the bill that passed this past legislative session in Nevada, were skyrocketing. And so she was having to, ration his medicine. And that's unacceptable. We shouldn't have to have people in this country rationing their medicine to be able to stay alive. That's unacceptable. Now, in NAFTA 2.0, basically Donald Trump wants to lower drug costs. Well, that's not a real thing, because what is happening within NAFTA is he has allowed prescription drug companies to write their own laws, manipulate the system, and what will happen is under that law, instead of us being able to import cheaper drugs from Canada and Mexico, NAFTA will export our laws, our very flawed laws, to Canada and Mexico, and potentially make their costs go up too, so that their seniors and their folks who need drugs are going to be impacted the same way that Americans have been impacted. And so no, it should not be a part of a trade deal. That's unacceptable. It has no place in there, not to mention that NAFTA is bad for workers, it's bad for families, and it's bad for the environment, but that's neither here nor there. The part about prescription drugs should not be in NAFTA 2.0, and going forward, we need real negotiations on prescription drugs. We need to regulate prescription drugs like we have started to do here in Nevada. And we need to move forward with bills that are currently sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk to actually deal with this problem. But Donald Trump wants to be hand in hand with the pharmaceutical companies and make sure that they get their profits over people. And that's how it normally goes with this administration.
As the costs have risen, is this a case where the free market or the companies are not able to regulate themselves adequately? Is this a case where the government should step in and do a better, or do a, not a better job, but do a job of trying to regulate the costs?
What the left wing wants to do is take a lot of the profits away from the drug industry, and the drug industry needs those additional dollars for research and development in order to be able to help cure diseases by providing medicine for people. So they always forget that aspect of it. I have no issue with people having to be able to import drugs from Canada. I really don't, or other places that may be adequate and the same as we would get here, but for prices that would be cheaper here. In terms of NAFTA, let me just say I was never a supporter of NAFTA from the beginning. ever. I mean, I never liked the idea of it. And NAFTA point two, as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to get rid of all of it entirely. I believe in a free market, and NAFTA has not been, I don't think, worked in our best interests. And I know the president has tried to correct it with NAFTA too. I hope he's very successful in doing that. But at this point, listen, import the drugs from Canada if they're of sufficient quality to what we have here, and let people compete for it. I believe in an open free market, and let the companies compete and do the best we can for the people.
We need to lower drug prices. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that drug prices are lower and that people can afford their prescriptions. And so I don't agree with Alan that, you know, these prescription drug companies need all these profits. They have plenty of profits. They're doing just fine. So they need to do better, and I think we need to regulate these drug companies because they're out of control.
All right, I think we're going to leave it there. We're up against the time wall.
Except, I know we both want to say, you're leaving here.
Yes, sir.
And we want to say it's been great. Almost 200 episodes of Face Off, and we've had a blast.
Together.
You've been absolutely great, and we wish you the very, very best.
Alan, I appreciate it.
Thank
Annette,
you, Patrick.
Thank you both, as always, for coming in. And thank you. And I really
agree.
And I really do appreciate all that you guys have done over the past 200 episodes now, almost.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.